Hello! What about some wonky nature houses? Well, I'm not showing how I place every block, but rather how to come up with an own design and how to go about building that. Or just take this as inspiration or try to build the same ideas. My chosen objects are an acorn, seashell and a tulip. So let's step outside of Minecraft for a moment to have a closer look. So first I want to show you what I have in mind for these objects, and to follow this along with your own design in case you'd like to, you don't have to be able to draw. But just to make it clear what exactly I want to build, I will put slightly more effort in. The acorn will lean onto a branch with a few leaves. This diagonal line is adding a lot of interest to it. The seashell is just a seashell with a few weirdly angled windows. And for the tulip I settled with a pink, white and green one. There are so many different ones. You can get into it by climbing up that blade of grass. So yes, apparently you can take anything, put a few windows on it and it looks decent. But building this in Minecraft is a bit harder. You see, these shapes are very natural and organic, which might be a bit tricky when you don't know how to build curved shapes. So in a very summarized way, go more to the side for it being flatter and more up for it to become steeper. For round shapes you have to combine the two. So let's start with the acorn because it will actually be the easiest. Just like in my concept art, I wanted the acorn to be slightly leaning to the side, but that is a bit more difficult, so you can build yours also going straight up. I start with a line to set the height. This one is around 30 blocks tall. Then I add these lines going outward, and these will set the outer wall. Basically I'm breaking down the acorn in shapes, curves and circles. When I now connect the points we create this grid. And with a few more lines to guide us, we can fill it in. By hand there is no special trick to this, I just try to match the curviness. Of course you can always come back and change things when they look wrong. And when using mods or plugins, I'm sure you could save a lot of time. But I wanted to show you the harder way. For the top part, we do the exact same thing again. Create a grid and fill it in. The branch in front has to be quite close to the acorn so that you can actually use it as stairs to get inside. When I have this so far and carved in the windows, it is time to add a bit more color. It is up to you how much you want to texture this, but I am going to use different shades of brown and create lighter and darker spots with it. To make it all not look too similar, I color the top part darker and add a rim around that part too to separate the two areas. On top comes this little trick part, and then it is about time to add the other details. As you can see, the windows are partially built diagonally, so they are also quite wonky, but from the right perspective they look fine. On the branch, stairs are leading up to the door, and it also gets some texture where the top is lighter and the bottom darker. The last thing I want to add are a few leaves. A few on the branch. There could actually be oak leaves, but they are too small to tell for sure. And to tie everything a bit more together and to add another spot of green, I place some leaves on the acorn. I tried to keep the stem of the tulip rather short so that the whole thing doesn't get too tall. So the stem is approximately 30 blocks tall and the flower another 30 to 35. Just like the acorn, build the outline of the flower first. The middle line going up is guiding us. From there you can go outwards and create circles and different heights. They don't have to be perfectly round as a tulip is not symmetrical. Then again fill it in and focus on the first big petal. All in all there will be 3 big ones, and when we take a look at a real tulip we can see that in the middle are more smaller ones, but from the outside you just see a few big ones. I'm outlining them with pink so that we don't lose track of what is what. Focus on building up smooth petals, but of course you can always go back and smooth it out more. It helps to separate the swarm into smaller parts. Of course you can play and creative like me, but when you are in survival I recommend planning this out before or to be really sure of what you are doing. To be honest, all of this turned out a bit more difficult than I originally thought, but it's doable. Now that we have a tulip, let's color it. The edge of the leaves is red wool, and to the middle it is a gradient going to white using pink terracotta, pink concrete and cherry planks. The green is just from green wool and terracotta. While the first petal is very vibrant, the other two have a bit less color, and eventually I make the color of the first one a bit more subtle too. On a bigger scale, these gradients would have worked even a bit better. As you can see, the 3 big petals didn't connect at all points, so I built a second wall inside with smaller petals at the top. Again, I place the windows where they fit best, and some of them are again diagonal. We really can't get away without diagonal windows. To get into the tulip home, you will have to climb up a blade of grass, which is conveniently shaped just so that you can get to the front door. But to be fair, it takes a while getting up. A bit more grass around looks nice, and of course we shouldn't forget the leaves of the tulip. I like to use a variety of dark and lighter blocks, and just like that, we've got ourselves a tulip house. Well, I parted the seashell last because it is the most difficult. A snail's shell is spiraling inward, which is a bit tricky to achieve. One option would be to build the shell in a similar manner as the acorn or the tulip, and then add the spiral on top, but I decided to build the spiral first as a guideline. Like this, we can bulk up the shell at the right spots. For this, I create a diagonal line from where I set the outer points of the shell. One side has to be moved 2 or 3 blocks backward, so that now we can connect each point with one another. Basically, these are cycles, but you're not staying on one layer. But once you have this figured out, the hardest part is done. Then again, break this up in smaller parts and fill it in. Try to keep all of it round, so that it doesn't end up as a square, especially at the bottom and front half. You can see that the first spiral starts about halfway, then in the half, the next line is again in the half, and so on until you reach the end. I cover the blue wool from the inside with a different block, so when I remove the wool, the spiral is 1 block inward. Time to add a door and a few windows. I wanted to stay close to my concept art because I really like how the windows are placed. But that does really mean that some of them are very uneven because of the curved shape of the shell. With glass blocks instead of panes, you can build diagonal windows, and with some stairs to make the 3 triangle-shaped ones more triangle-shaped and some trapdoors around, this isn't looking too bad. A cute little chimney should also not be missed. To color the seashell, I am going to use different sand colors and browns. The spiral will stay in the darkest spot and should always stand out. No way we built this thing for nothing. Then I built a gradient going from brown to the sand color, and of course I do that for both sides. With some green glass paints you can add a tint of green to the bottom. Whether the shell is just green or algae are growing on it is up to you. And to finish the scene, I built up some kelp in a similar manner as the grass for the tulip. The bubbles are barely textured, but some cobwebs make a good highlight. Well, and with that we went through all of my 3 examples. While I didn't show exactly how I built everything, it was all more about how to come up with your own idea. But if you'd like to have these exact builds, I will add a link to download the schematics down below. I hope you learned something from this, and if not, maybe this is just inspiration. Until the next time, goodbye!